Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay, good. Well, welcome everyone to, every year we have a sort of free event. Sydney and I both are doing ghost tours right now. Sydney does ghost tours, actually all three of us are doing ghost tours. Sydney is doing ghost tours in Tupelo. She's been doing it for a lot longer than I have. She actually made me get rid of a really cool banner idea because the banner said the first and best ghost tour in North Mississippi. And she's like, excuse me. So she didn't actually tell me that, but I felt kind of weird using that banner, so I got rid of the banner. I'll replace it one day. She was not the first, and she's probably not the coolest either. But Sydney does the haunted Tupelo tours in Tupelo. I do the haunted Holly Springs tours here. Jim and Stacy and Cindy on the first row are the owners of Linden Hill. So, of course, Linden Hill, most of you are familiar with that. Linden Hill is probably the most haunted house in Holly Springs, maybe even North Mississippi. So we'll be asking them some questions later too to see what they've experienced. A lot. Confirmed haunted. I say confirmed haunted when I've experienced it myself. I definitely have experienced stuff there, experienced stuff here, and we'll talk about a few other places too. But today is really just a cool event to discuss kind of ghost hunting in general, how you get into it, how you guys got into it, if anyone else is interested in doing it, the tools. I'm glad I didn't really organize this very well. I just said, come here and let's do something. But they brought all of the tools of the trade, so they'll go into that. And maybe we could play a few EVPs or play some, we don't have any video, but play some stuff that we've heard in the past. And if most of you I'm familiar with, a lot of you have been on our tours before, so thanks for coming back. But if you're new to all this, it's a good introduction. So with that being said, I'm going to turn this over and let y'all introduce yourselves and maybe a little bit about yourselves and how you got involved in the paranormal.
Hi there, I am L. Sydney Fisher. I'm a paranormal thriller author and supernatural suspense. I've been writing forever. I actually have been a paranormal researcher all of my life. Started writing when I was about 8 years old and got into paranormal investigating. Now, over the years, I've lived in many haunted houses and things like that, of course, which is the inspiration for some of my writings. But I actually started working with a team of paranormal investigators. I recruited a team. 2 of them are with me today, on my right and my left, because I was looking for inspiration for future books. So how funny is that? And I ended up getting in it and staying in it for 2 or 3 years. That wasn't the first motivation, but it turned into that. As far as some of the scariest places we've been, I guess it's subjective. It depends on what you personally think. There's one that will always stay with me my entire life, and that is, I wrote about it in one of my books. It's called The Devil's Den, and it's located in a nearby county, and it's got quite a history, the story behind it. I do think that, and there's a picture of what is haunting that house and that property. I'll be glad to show you on my cell phone if you want to look and see that later on, but it's not human, so we'll say that for sure. I'm going to turn this over to Sandy and let her tell you a little bit about how she got investigating.
Hi everybody. My first real experience is what turned me into a paranormal researcher investigator. When I first moved to Marshall County from Tennessee, I moved into what became known to me as a haunted sharecropper's cabin out at Strawberry Plains. This was before the Audubon Center took it over. Miss Shackelford was still alive, the owner of Strawberry Plains. Long story short, I had an experience, and from that point forward, I started researching. Then I became an investigator, investigated around Marshall County, and Holly Springs is like the star on top of the tree when it comes to paranormal situations, believe it or not. And some people will tell you about it, and some people won't. Then I met Sydney at a book signing, and actually one of Philip's first ghost tours here in Holly Springs.
You're welcome for bringing you all together.
Yes, she brought us together. And she recruited me to be on her team. And we've traveled around the state in Mississippi. We do Tennessee, Louisiana, Alabama, wherever we're called to or wherever we get this draw. Several members of our team are considered sensitives and they feel the draw. I am not one of those gifted people, but I go where they tell me I need to go and bring my stuff. So, but it's very enjoyable to me. It's very interesting. We also get into and talk about unsolved crime, unsolved mysteries, things like that. And there's a lot of them around here. So that's kind of how I got my thing going.
Here's Kendall.
How about the paranormal investigating? I'm from South Louisiana. That just says enough for me.
You would
You're
never be able to tell.
getting into it. There's no getting away from it.
You would never be able to tell by his eyes.
He's a but when I moved up here 7 years ago, when I got up here, it's like I kind of lost that. Like it's like, okay, at home, I was like, where's the paranormal stuff? Like where's this happening? Lo and behold, this one walks into my work. I worked at Hill Country Network at the time. They said, we want you to come tape our show. Gang, let's do it. And it's been 3-4 years.
Yeah, it's been 3 or 4 years.
And it's become like a second family. Even though it was not paranormal investigating, every day we talk. How you feel today? So it's interesting. I don't know if like the team on TV you see them, how they're off screen, but like for us, you see us going through investigating, and we're together off screen.
And that's something I've found out. This is now the third team that I've sort of been involved with, either sort of a member, half a member, historian, whatever. The first team was the kudzu paranormal that Sandy started, and it kind of then she switched over to Paraphiles. But all three teams, they have a lot. They're very. And I tell people on my tours this because when we talk about the EVPs, we hear laughter, we hear crying, and all that. I say these teams are very professional. They love to have fun before and after. They go out and have a lot of fun before and after, and lots of camaraderie and all that. But during the actual events, it's serious. It's business. We don't ever hear crying or laughing because we know that creates false positives in these investigations. So always very serious here, but they do have a lot of fun. I enjoy anytime they come to Holly Springs. The last time, we'll talk about this later. They came a few months ago to Hillcrest. One of the scariest things that's ever happened to me in my life happened. I was not expecting.
I'm ready to go
I
back.
have some of the pictures.
Yeah, pictures good.
I want to go back.
We can play it. We can pull up on Facebook and play the audio, but we'll talk about that when we get into some.
I really want to go back.
We'll go back to that. But yeah, that was really scary.
I'll tell y'all a few things about it. If you're thinking about getting into paranormal investigating, there's a few rules that we, or particularly me, that I've lived by, and I ask my members to do this as well. Absolutely, with no questions asked, non-negotiable, do not come to a paranormal investigation under the influence of alcohol or any recreational drugs. Not going to happen. If I were to find out that which I don't have to worry about that, but if that were to be an issue on my team, they would be excused immediately. Bye-bye, thank you for your time, you're not coming back. I don't play. Number one, because when you are on a paranormal investigation, if you're under the influence of anything that inhibits your ability to make your own decisions, and if anybody has consumed alcohol or ever been, or recreational drugs, you know that you are not 100% yourself at that time. Some people believe that you are also exposing yourself, making yourself vulnerable to being possessed or having an attachment, a spiritual attachment, by not being completely, free of any type of interference. So I'm not much of a drinker anyway. I mean, I'm older and been there, done that, had that fun. I just like to, I just like to always be in control of what I'm doing, what I'm saying, and that kind of thing. So that's not my thing anyway. But we do tell some folks that sometimes call us up and say, "Oh, can we go with you? Can we do this, that, and the other?" And we're like, "Well, there's some questions that you would ask. How long have you been investigating? What do you believe?" And that type of thing. Everybody is entitled to their own beliefs, absolutely. We don't try to push ours off on anybody. But spending a lifetime in paranormal research, all I know to tell you is, I know what I know, folks. I know what I've seen, that kind of thing. I had someone that called me this morning on my way over here, wanting to book a tour for tonight for the ghost tour, and they told me that they were very religious. And I said, "That's great. Is that going to inhibit your ability to enjoy a haunted history narrative? Because if it is, this might not be your thing."
I found,
and sometimes that's frustrating. And I had to tell my customer. She says, "I'm a Christian." I said, "So am I." Since June the 8th, 1980. But it doesn't inhibit my ability to give you a good haunted history narrative ghost tour. So
I have found that people extremely religious and extremely atheist, or extremely non-believers, skeptics, are difficult to work with. But most people, 90% of people in that middle ground, they're willing to open themselves up.
absolutely.
And I'll tell you this is 100% true, and all of them will agree with me. This is paranormal stuff. Is if you go looking for it, you will find it. And I found that when I was invited on my first ghost tour, I was not a skeptic. I was like, I can get with this, I can. But then things started happening to me that I still to this day cannot explain. So if you go looking for it, you will find it. If you choose to ignore it, usually it'll ignore you. Because ghosts, I like to say this in my tours, ghosts are not performers. They're not here for your amusement. They're not going to come out and perform. But some ghosts do like to be seen and heard. And if you ask them to present themselves, a lot of times they will.
That's true.
I've become a big believer and I'm very scientific oriented, so when we have these tools that right now you guys have no idea what these are, and they'll explain to you, but these devices are not like this. I was making fun of this. I bought this at Barnes & Noble. It's just a little battery operated thing from Ghostbusters, basically. It's just a prop.
That's cute.
These are not. These are actual, thank you. These are actual devices that are used to detect ghosts. And what are ghosts? And I'll say this and I'll let y'all kind of jump in, but and I tell this on my tours, whether you don't have to believe that ghosts are literally spirits of dead people. It's possible that could be. That's what we call an intelligent haunting. Ghosts can also be what we call residual hauntings. That is just energy left behind when someone dies that presents itself as
Over and over. Like
exactly.
a broken record.
Like a broken record that just displays over and over.
It's an imprint.
So you don't have to believe that they're souls necessarily. It could just be energy. But all these devices pick up that energy and then present themselves as data that we can use, that Kendall can look at, and then Sandy and all that. So.
In my booth, when we were in the blue polar room, it was like we were listening. We were listening to them on the spirit box, and it was like we were sitting in the middle of their life.
Yeah.
We could hear them talking to each
Yeah.
other and calling for each other like. And they didn't know talking about us.
Right.
They could see
They
us.
do.
They're like, what are they doing here?
You'll hear an EVP later, a spirit in version 2 actually say my name and say, it's just Philip, don't worry about it. And
That's so crazy.
it is.
So here is some science behind ghosts and spirits. Paranormal researchers believe that they emit an electromagnetic field. Now, an electromagnetic field is energy, and you have one. There's two different types. There's man-made, which is emitted from lights, electrical type gadgets and things that will cause those devices to go off. There's also the other one, which is non-man-made. It's human electromagnetic field. It's believed that the electromagnetic field that is being picked up on those gadgets is coming from some sort of spiritual interference. If there's nothing else around that would be causing it to go off. So those are the things that you have to consider. If you go into an abandoned building, or something somewhere, and you have got what we call a K2 meter, or some people just call it an EMF detector. And you set that thing down, and it starts going off, and those lights are going all the way across the front. That right there. These lights go all the way across and just zip across all the way to red. All right? If that thing is going all the way across and there's nothing else around you, okay? There's nothing else around you that would make any sense as to why the lights have been, electricity's been off in that place for decades. So this is going on. You don't have your phone anywhere around it. You just set it down. That's a pretty good indication, if this bar is all the way across, that spirit is probably about right here. And so if that is, let's say, going off to about the third one, that's an indication that spirit's just kind of checking you out. Just kind of checking you out. Getting close, getting in your space. Sometimes it will talk, sometimes it'll do things that can make that light go across. You know, some paranormal investigators use the K2 meter to communicate by asking the spirit certain types of questions and things. So those are really fun. It can be spooky. I've been in a few places where that thing just totally, I was just mesmerized. For a little while.
And that's what surprised me when on and I have been on, I don't know how many now, probably 8, 9, 10, somewhere like that, between all three groups I've been involved with. There are some times where nothing happens, and that is perfectly okay. Like I said, ghost not performers. Nothing happens. We have a good time. We don't catch anything.
Be careful what doors you open.
Yes, absolutely. Because I've been surprised on the times, particularly in the one I'm most familiar with, Graceland 2, how active it is, like things happening. We're sitting here, nothing's happening right now. That's perfectly fine. It happened a little bit earlier. In Graceland 2, Sandy was with me several times. Sandy doesn't like being in there by herself either. This thing can make noises, but when it's really active, this is what happens. All lights go off. And that was happening in there.
And it was in another room.
Another room. We were nowhere near it. There was no device near it. And that thing just went off. And then that meter went off to red, and then that's when I got my first cold spot, where just all the energy just drained, and I could see my breath. And this was the middle of the summer.
And we've done an investigation at Graceland too. The PARA is the name of the group. It stands for Paranormal and Anomaly Research Alliance. So PARA has done an investigation at Graceland too, and I'll tell you, just my personal opinion, I don't think it's Paul.
No, I don't think it is either. We've never had any evidence.
Remember Paul that lived there? I don't think it's Paul that's there.
It's we've recorded female voices more than anything. A lot of female, different, older, younger.
And an old man that is not Paul, 1850s, 1860s, that resides on the second floor.
I think Paul's in heaven with Elvis. He's not going to miss that.
I don't think Paul is there.
No, I don't either, and I agree with that, but. Something is in there. Something's in that house, and I do not go in that house by myself anymore. I was happy that some of the tour this year as far as going inside. I will not go in there. I'm just, it's one of those, I don't necessarily think it's evil energy, but it's any of that energy that's sort of has attached itself to me, and I just.
But the lamps will come on and they're unplugged from the wall.
And that happened last year on the tour. We went inside. It happened on a haunted tour, which is perfect for me. I could not ask for something like that to happen. Were you on the? You were on the.
We were the ones that got locked in the door.
You got locked in.
And I fainted, and the door tried to lock.
But this lamp on the tour.
I missed that.
We were standing in that room.
I have a very nice picture of my sister-in-law of something behind her. I've got it on my phone.
Holy cow!
Well, the light went on, and then I looked at everyone. I was like, "That's not supposed to happen." And so I was looking to make sure there wasn't anyone like back there playing with it. And so everyone left. I went, and as I got to it, it went off. Open up. It wasn't plugged in. That light was not plugged in.
But that Graceland 2 is one of the places you walk in and you think it's going to be nothing.
Yeah, because it's.
And then it starts, and it starts, and then it'll stop.
Wait a minute.